When I was very young, my father was a chaplain in the U.S. Army, and one of his closest friends was a Colonel Bill Abernathy. Now, there's a story about how Colonel Abernathy had a young lieutenant assigned to his unit, and so he was trying to bring this lieutenant up to speed as to how he liked to do things with the troops. And he explained that he wanted to make sure that there were lots of acts of goodness and kindness that were offered to the people that were beneath them. And so one of the assignments he gave this lieutenant was whenever there was a baby born to one of the troops, then he would be in charge of writing a congratulations note to them. Now, the lieutenant gave him some pushback. Why do I have to do something like this? I mean, what's the point anyway? And Colonel Abernathy explained that he wanted to maintain a good sense of morale because there was going to be a time when they were going to have to call upon the troops beneath them to do some things that might be rather difficult. And he wanted to make sure that those individuals knew that they were more than just pawns on a chessboard, but they were seen as genuine, real people who had real personal issues. And it was a lesson that was not forgotten by that lieutenant. Now, by the way, the lieutenant's name was Colin Powell, and you probably know that he did pretty well in his career. He rose through the ranks, and he went all the way up to being the commander of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the U.S. Secretary of State. And interestingly, in his own autobiography, he goes back and references that lesson that was taught to him by Colonel Abernathy, saying that was a pivotal time in his early development. Now, I want you to think, how important is it to you to be known as somebody that has kindness? Now, whenever someone's in front of you, they can have some questions about where they stand with you. For example, do I matter? Are you a safe person? Do you care about me? Can I trust you? And when we show acts of kindness, we're basically saying, well, yes, you do matter to me. And there's a sense of fair-mindedness that I bring. There's a sense of honor that I'm going to give you. I want you to know that when you're in my presence, there's something good that's going to happen. Let's see if we can work on that together. Now, interestingly, there are plenty of people out there that really don't put that much emphasis on kindness, or they say they want to be kind, but then the rest of their lifestyle doesn't really match pitch with that. So I want to point out 6 different things that can hinder a person from being known as that kind person. And of course, as we're looking at these, then we want to look at what the better alternatives would be so that kindness can indeed come through and actually influence can go up. For example, one of the primary things that hinders a person for being known as a kind person is you can have a chronic undertow of irritability, impatience, or agitation. You've probably been around somebody and you know that when push comes to shove, they're just kind of going to go into that tense moment. And basically through that agitation, they're more or less saying, you're a bother to me. Or you're in my way, or I don't like having to have to work around you or deal with you. And so there's a message that's covertly being communicated that says, people bug me. I don't want to mess with you. You really know a lot about people once you see how they respond to tension. So that ongoing agitation is not a friend to the kindness. Or a second characteristic that can inhibit kindness is an attitude of entitlement. There are plenty of people out there who it's kind of all about themselves. What are you going to do for me? Well, that's kind of the opposite of what kindness implies now, isn't it? Because the kind person is focused on the other person. What can I do for you? And sometimes there are people who may do something nice, but then that entitlement shows up on the backside when they more or less imply, hey, did you see what I just did? Are you going to give me a pat on the back now? Okay, you just lost it. Entitled people, selfish people, people who think what's in it for me tend not to have a real strong reputation as kind people. Or a third thing that gets in the way of being known as a kind person is when you have a strong authoritative approach towards life. Now, frankly, it's good to be known as an authority on something. I'm certain that Colin Powell or Colonel Abernathy were known as people of authority and people that you needed to pay attention to because they knew what they were talking about. But at the same time, you can have authority without being authoritarian. Authoritarian people have such an emphasis on control and dominance and must and have to and got to, that's kind of the only thing that they're known for. And performance, achievement, getting people inside the grooves is about the only thing that really matters. And we're not talking about military, we're talking about places of work, or we're talking about inside homes and marriages and families and friendships. The authoritarian person is not going to have a strong reputation as a kind person. Or a fourth characteristic that inhibits your ability to be kind is the pervasiveness of defensiveness. How many times have you spoken with somebody when you confront them or there's a problem and you say, hey, here's something that's difficult, and they say, okay, I'd like to know what makes you think that way. Tell me more. That's what kind people do. It's like, all right, I know you have impressions. I know you have interpretations. I can hear you. The non-kind person is like, what are you doing talking to me in that confrontive kind of way? And so they can do what I call boomerang communication. They take your confrontation, they throw it right back at you, and they have a lot of counter blame or accusation. There can be a sense of justifying and rationalizing, and that you just kind of feel like there's a big, huge wall that's there between you and them. That doesn't impress people in a positive kind of direction. Or a fifth ingredient that's a part of, or that hinders a person from having that sense of kindness, is a judgmental person. Now, I think it's necessary to be discerning. You want to have a sense of what's good and what's not good, what's healthy and what's not healthy. And so you can discern and determine that there are some things that you are drawn toward and certain things you're drawn away from, but that's not the same as a judgmental spirit. A judgmental spirit person is somebody that's going to attack someone else's character. Not only might you have made a mistake, but the judgmental person may say, yeah, and that means you're an awful person because of it. And so they're so into labels, they're so into othering people that they give the impression that says, I don't really care that much about your humanity. I'm above you anyway. I'm superior to you, and don't you forget that. That tends not to go a long way towards creating positive influence. And then a sixth ingredient that tends to inhibit people from having kindness is that they may have a general closed nature as they engage with other people. It's like, I am not about to tell you who I am. I don't want you to see my humanity. I don't want you to know personal things about me. And obviously, you can't disclose everything about yourself to all people, but you want to have a sense of openness and approachability. The closed person, it's like, as I survey my environment in front of me, nah, I don't see anybody that I want to engage with or that I want to open up with. And so there's just a sense that that says, stay away, the door is closed, I don't want to deal with you. And they can do so through a lot of passivity or a lot of stubbornness and things of that nature. So we go back to that question, are you known as being a kind person? And is that something that you want to give emphasis to? See, let's recognize we're all interconnected. We each, in our own separate ways, can give messages to one another that tells whether we believe somebody has worth or not, or whether they're worth investing in, or that you can just basically see their humanity. And I'm hoping that you can see that you can have a spirit of influence when you say, I want to accept you, I want to include you, I want you to know that I can find value in you, and in doing so, you become that person that says kindness is central to what I am. When you are in my presence, that's what you're going to get. I do hope that you find value in videos such as this. And beneath the video here, you're going to see a subscribe button. I would invite you to hit that button so that you can be apprised of more videos as they come along. And then beneath the video, we have some links to books and workshops and online counseling and things of that nature that I hope you would find to be useful to you. I really do appreciate you allowing me to be a part of your growth journey. And just know that as I give these messages, I'm doing so with the hope that says we're all in this together. Now, keep in mind, Dr. C, DRC, stands for dignity, respect, civility. And I want you to join me as we try to make that a part of the way that we engage with people. And if enough of us can do that, I think we can make a difference. So join me in that effort, will you?